Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to be going over how Cleon Skousen consulted with Jewish leaders about how to construct the third temple. Something that I never knew. I only found out about it because I had two people that commented about this on one of my videos. First was Living the Dream. She says, I recently listened to a Cleon Skousen recording where he discusses talking to a Jewish leader about how the temple should be built. Fascinating. Fascinating indeed. And so I asked her for the reference, and then she gave it. Also, Kimberly Olson, she says, Cleon Skousen went to Israel and spent much time helping the Jewish leaders draw up plans for the temple. Latter-day Saints could help in building of it, but I do believe the Jews will build their temple in the same pattern as Solomon and Herod's temple. This was excellent. She also pointed me in the right direction. So basically, there are two places, I guess, two channels that you can go to listen to Cleon Skousen's speeches. The one that I'm getting the information from for this video is from this one, Light and Truth. So you can subscribe to this. I'll put the link for this channel in the description below, as well as Aussie Dao or Dao. And there's information here as well. Okay, so I had to learn more about this because if that's the case, what that means is that if the temple that the Jews build is the temple of Jerusalem, and I'm starting more and more to think that it is. Again, that's not to say that the BYU Jerusalem Center may not be turned into a headquarters temple for Christ. I don't know. We'll just see. But I'm starting to think more and more there really will be the third temple built by the Jews, and that it'll become a temple of Jerusalem, if not the temple of Jerusalem, during the millennium. And so what this means is that someone from our church would have had a hand in assisting with this, at least as far as the planning goes and consulting on it. Okay, so in the last video, if you haven't seen that, we found out that the foundations for the third temple are being reinforced, not intentionally to build the third temple, but that the foundations of the Temple Mount are being reinforced. That's the first phase of building a structure. You start with the foundation and you go up. So check out my last video about that if you haven't already. Really fascinating. Now, it was while I was trying to research this that I came across that material, but now we're doing this. Okay, so there's two videos. I want to read from the transcripts for the YouTube video, okay? Okay, so in this one right here, okay, this is Prophecy in Modern Times by Cleon Skousen from Favorite Speeches, Volume 2. To Prophecy in Modern Times. This is on the Light and Truth channel. Do I dare zoom in? Or am I going to lose my place? No, I'm not going to zoom in. Sorry. So you'll just have to listen, or if you can see this, then great. Or you can just go and watch this. This starts at where I'm about to read. It starts at the 53-minute and 58-second mark. Okay, so he's talking about when Christ comes for the second coming, okay? Olives and mountain... sorry. Maybe I should start at 53. They will be caught up and descend with the Messiah on Mount Olives, a mountain of olives. The mountain will cleave in twain. The prophets say the people of Jerusalem will flee through the great cavern canyon over into the valley beyond which the Bible calls Jehoshaphat. And there they will gather around the Messiah. He will have the power to withhold his glory. As they look upon him, Zechariah the Jewish prophet says, as they look upon him, they will say, what are these wounds in thy hands and thy feet? And he shall say, these are the wounds I received in the house of my friends. And then it says the people will go into mourning for 30 days because they didn't recognize their Messiah. Their ancestors had not recognized their Messiah. The first time he came, that's in the Jewish prophets. And then it says they would before the mourning begins, And sorry, you guys have to remember, this is like an automatic transcription by YouTube, so I don't know, I can't see the periods and commas and stuff like that, so this might be a little bit choppy. Let me see if I can scroll down just using the arrow keys. Please, can I? Please? No. Okay. Okay, so, and then it says they after, even before the morning begins, they will take him to the temple. The east door will be permanently closed. And the name of Jerusalem will be changed to Jehovah. Jehovah, which means Jehovah, the Lord God, is here. So this is backing up. I should have pulled this up. This is backing up the idea that, let's go to 360 Golden Gate Temple Mount. Okay, I want to take a look at this again. 360cities.net. We've been here before. This is not exactly where I wanted to be. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, I was looking at these arches, but it's actually these big arches here. So there's tradition that says that the Messiah, both in Christianity, I believe, and also in Judaism, that in Christianity, in the second coming, Christ would come through these doors, which are now sealed up. And in Judaism, I also believe that they believe that the Messiah will come through here into the temple. And this is facing east that way toward the Mount of Olives right here. Okay? So that's what he's talking about currently. Okay, so he's saying that, and I don't know where he's getting this information from. I don't know if it's in the scriptures. I haven't gone that far. Not that I'm aware of. As far as I know, it's just tradition. But anyway, that's what he's saying in his speech. And then the name of Jerusalem will be changed to Jehovah. That's something that I haven't heard before, so I don't know where he's getting that exactly. But I don't necessarily doubt him. Jehovah, which means Jehovah, the Lord God, is here. And then it says there will be some tremendous things happen, and the wave of knowledge will go out from there among all people. And then you come to the beautiful chapter of Isaiah chapter 19, where it says the Arabs will be converted, and God will call the Arabs and the Jews both my people. It also says that both the Arabs and the Jews will have their temple, and so their task, of course, is to build it. And I just need to tell you one little personal thing that we need to know about those events that are now laying out those events. They are now laying out the architectural design. And when I wrote the book, The 4,000 Years, I put the design based on the writings of Ezekiel in the book, The 4,000 Years, and it's identical with Solomon's temple, which is also described in detail. So, so we were over there. Okay, now first, before we go on to that, now, I don't know. Okay, so this was given, according to this was given in 1985. I don't know when the Temple Institute started. We have referred to the Temple Institute many times on the channel. I've been aware of them for a long time. And they are the ones, it seems, that have everything prepared to build the temple. They have all the... Let me just go to the main website. The Temple Institute. Let me just show you a few things here. And some of this, I've already gone over this before. But if you go to study tools, down to vessels, and then gallery, they have everything made right now. Everything that they need for the temple. Everything from the high priest garments to... the breastplate, to all the different tools, instruments. See, here's like a harp thing for the Levites to play, because there's music that's played in the temple. The menorah, of course. They've even built the Ark of the Covenant. Here it is right here. Okay, so they have everything. And it's my understanding that they also have the architectural plans to build the temple. Now, okay, let me see. Okay, so if you go to Google and you look them up, like on Google Maps, you know how like when you click on a place, it has like photos associated with that place. So I believe that this right here is what the third temple will look like, which isn't surprising because it's patterned off of the previous temples. I'm not sure though, just because it doesn't actually say that here, but I think that this is what it would look like. I thought I had another thing up. Maybe I closed out of it. Yeah, I guess I closed out of it. Weird. Anyway, there's another model that's somewhere else, but I think that this is what it would look like, which is very much like the second temple. Okay, I'm going to go over to BYU's Virtual New Testament. They have what the temple looked like at the time of Christ. It's a virtual environment. You can go and you can walk around and really explore it. Okay, you can either be in the temple or basically walk around the temple court and stuff like that, or you can look at these little viewpoints. You can click on these little viewpoints right here and look around and see different places within Jerusalem. So here we are floating above the temple, looking down, right? And this is what the second temple looked like. Now, the layout is basically the same between Solomon's temple and the second temple. And it'll be the same with the third temple, but the actual look of the building is a bit different between the first and the second temple. And there's other notable differences, but that's beyond the scope of what we're doing here. So anyway, I think that this is what they have planned, as far as I know. I tried to look for, blueprints or anything like that, but it's not available. But this location that we're looking at, this is the Temple Institute in Jerusalem, and this is not far from the Temple Mount. You can come here. They have a museum that you can walk through. Whenever I go to Jerusalem, I would really like to check this place out. The Golden Grapevine, we're going to read about that a little bit later, because that's something that I didn't know what it was when we were looking through here. In fact, let me show you where it is. Okay, let's go here to where we can walk around. Okay, if you walk all the way to the Kodesh, which is it's the sanctuary area, the holy place and the Holy of Holies. I think the whole thing is called the Kodesh. I can't remember. But anyway, you come through here. Stop. No, turn around. I'm really glad that we have this program. It's available for both desktop and as an app on your phone, but it's a little bit unwieldy, but I'm still grateful for it. But as we went through here one of these last times, I was wondering what these grapes were, because I had never heard of this before, and actually they served a purpose, it turns out. And I'll show you all about that later. But here you go. You have the grapes. They're gold, and there's the leaves, the vines, the grapes themselves. Sorry, we'll get back to what he was saying in just a minute. I just want to show you some of these things. Here's the menorah. They have it displayed out here in this public square. Here they have the high priest garments and the breastplate, and they went through a lot of research to figure out exactly how everything was supposed to be. It wasn't clear what gems they should have on the breastplate, so they, from what I studied, they kind of based it on the colors, because the colors are mentioned. And so, if I remember right, Reuben, it's a ruby. Joseph, because on here you have Joseph. Joseph is onyx, like black onyx stone, and there's other ones. So anyway, they did that. Here they have a display of the harps and stuff like that, and the different instruments. Here's the like the trumpets. And this is the type of trumpet that we see the angel Moroni on our temples blowing. This one right here. It's not a shofar like this, but it is one of these. And I'm not sure exactly when or how those were used or what significance they had. And then there's like a gift shop, and this right here looks awesome, but it looks like it's about $5,000, or it's probably Israeli currency, so I don't know what the exchange rate is, but 5,000 of anything, that seems pretty expensive. But it looks like that's a nice thing to have. I'd like to have that. You can check out the rest of the pictures. Here's a close-up of the menorah. I love that in Israel, everything's mostly in Hebrew and English, and then you also have Arabic, but I'm glad that English is all over the place over there. Here's the Ark. There's like all these people that want to find the original Ark, and that would be really cool. It'd be really cool if we found the original Ark, but I'm not so sure that it matters that we have the original one. They've built this one that will be in the temple. So on and on and on. I can't remember if there was anything else here. That's basically it. You can look through the rest of the pictures yourself. Oh, this is the holder for the showbread. And the showbread is flat, and it kind of like curls up on each side. It's kind of like weird looking if you haven't seen it before, but these are the holders for the showbread. So, okay. So let's get back to Cleon Skousen. Okay, so he says, okay, they are now laying out the architectural design. And when I wrote the book, The 4,000 Years, I put that design based on the writings of Ezekiel in the book of the 4,000 years, and it's identical with Solomon's temple, which is also described in detail. So we were over there, and Rabbi Julius, let me scroll, and Dr. Lippel, head of the Jerusalem Institute, which I don't know if that's the Temple Institute, because like maybe it went by a different name back in 1985. I don't know. But anyway, we better find that out. Original name of the Temple Institute. MIKDASH. The Temple Institute, known in Hebrew as MIKDASH, is an organization. Okay, we're probably not going to find that out. But I find it interesting that he says institute. He probably is referring to the Temple Institute. I might have to dig deeper on that. But they invited me to go to the synagogue where young Levite priests are being trained on how to perform sacrifices in righteousness. That's what Ezekiel says. They will this time. They'll perform the sacrifices in righteousness so that they're teaching them how to do it. It's quite complicated. They're also designing their robes for the temple, which are described in the Bible. They're different than our modern robes, by the way. And when they showed me the design for the temple, oh, by the way, if you haven't seen it, sorry. Well, I guess it's kind of right there. Let's go back to the gallery. Let's go. It just showed it here. Like here's one, for example. They basically look like this. I've seen a few different variations of them. I want to find that one where you have the high priest and then the priest standing together. Yeah, here you go. This one right here is the one that I typically see when they're doing reenactments. It looks like this. I don't know if this design is like a pomegranate with vines or something like that. But anyway, this is what their robes look like. Okay. Quite complicated. Also designing their robes for the temple, which are described in the Bible. They're different than our modern robes, by the way. And then they showed me the design for the temple. And I leaned to Dr. Joseph Gnad, Dr. Joseph Gnad, and said it's the wrong design. And he immediately turned to Dr. Rabbi Julius and said it's the wrong design. And he immediately turned over to Dr. Level and said it's the wrong design. So when afterwards Dr. Leibel said, do you have the correct design? And I said, it's in the Bible. It's Ezekiel, when he said we're following the temple scroll that was discovered in 1967. And I said, well, you see, those that was not written by a prophet. That was written by well-meaning people who were far distant from the prophets. Stay with your prophets. If you'll go back, you'll notice that Ezekiel was taken all through the temple. He measured every door, every window, every courtyard. Stay with Ezekiel. And so they said, well, do you have your book that tells us, or that tells about it? And so I had 2 copies. So we met the next night, and they asked me if I had the temple book with me. And I didn't know which one they were talking about. They said, where you've written up. Where you've written it up. I said, it's called the 4,000 years. Yes, I have it. And so we spent way into the evening talking about the details of the temple. And they said, look, you've got 2 stories here. And I said, that's right. Well, the Bible only refers to one story. I said, I know, but Josephus said that there was another story on top of it, just like the first one, and the stairs in the walls led up to the top. And they said they would be in the upper story, and I said that's where the veil is. Oh no, they said that's over the door on the first floor. I said the door is only about 6 feet wide on the first floor, leading into the Holy Holies. You don't need a 30-foot veil for that. And they said, well, then if it's to fail, it's up there. What do you do on the second floor? And I said, that's what the Messiah will show you when he comes. Now, I'm not going to pretend to follow that exactly what Cleon Skousen was suggesting. You can come back here and listen to this. Again, this is at about the 57-minute mark onward. Okay. But I went to the Temple Institute trying to figure this out. We're going to come back to this one in a minute. Oh, by the way, I think I'm solidly in the camp that the original temple was here on the Temple Mount rather than down in the valley of the city of David. And I'll explain that in just a little while. So stay with me. We'll come back to this one. Okay, so on the Temple Institute, I guess they kind of do have a schematic or kind of blueprint. Okay, so I'm going to read a few things from this. So the MIKDASH, the sanctuary. Okay, so you have kind of like 3 parts. You have the Ulam right here, and then you have the Kodesh / the Haikal. You can call it either one of those, the sanctuary. And then the Kodesh Kodeshim, the Holy of Holies, right here. Okay, so 3 parts, one inside the actual building. Let's go to the 3D version. So here we are. We're in the court of the priests. There's the altar. Okay, here's the building. You walk in, go up the steps, and I read that there were 12 steps. This little area here, let's see if I can get this kind of hallway type thing right here. This is the Ulam. This is where you have, these pillars with the grapes. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like BYU added all the details to this model. I'll show you why. And that's not a criticism necessarily, BYU. That, I don't know. For all I know, maybe this is incomplete. Maybe they're going to be adding more on later. But right now, we're in the Ulam, okay? That's going to come into play in just a minute. I better zoom in. Okay, so the Ulam. And these drawings are based on, I believe they're based on Solomon's temple and the future third temple. Okay, because here they have doors to enter into the sanctuary rather than over here you have this big veil with a sun on it. And I don't doubt BYU's authenticity. This is probably what the second temple looked like. But according to this, there's doors that lock from the inside. Okay, so you come in here, you're in the ulam, and you can see that there's little entryways over here. It's not in the BYU model, but if you go to the right, there's an entryway right here. You go to the left, there's an entryway right here. Okay, so let's go down. Here's just the exterior view. The ulam is right here, the Kodesh, and then the Kodesh Kodeshim. Okay, the MIKDASH, the sanctuary. That's like the whole thing. The MIKDASH is built of three parts. The ulam, which I guess that's the hall, the Kodesh, the holy area, also known as the Hekal or Haikal, and the Kodesh Kodeshim, the Holy of Holies. Together, they are all called the Haikal. What? Together they are all called the Haikal. Oh, so you can call the whole thing the Haikal, and you can also call the Kodesh, the holy area, but whatever. Okay, according to Rambam's law of the Beit Haber Chira. On the sides of the Haikal was a series of small compartments whose purpose is not explained in the texts. Now, I don't know if they know what the purpose is, but they don't put it here on their website. What's that talking about? What is this small? What are these small compartments? Okay, these right here. And when it says compartments, like you could walk in these. They're not just like cubbies in a wall or whatever. Okay, so all these like things here with a red X through it, these are the compartments. You see right here? Compartments. They don't know what this is. And there's not really an explanation what this is back here. I think that this is a door, actually, because this looks like this over here. So I guess this is a door, a back door to the temple. Okay, so you're in the ulam. Instead of going directly into the sanctuary, if you turn right or left, there's these two entryways to these compartments as well as something else. So we're going to talk about that something else in just a little bit. Okay. Scrolling down, it just shows you the inside of the temple, the incense, altar, showbread, menorah. If we go to our BYU model, you have it here. Although they have the incense altar right up against the veil. And then they have the showbread over here and the menorah over there. Okay. You go down. I'm just going to find the places that I highlighted. Okay, now this is a side view. This is a side view. And you can see that the ceiling for these rooms, so if I look up, the ceiling ends right here, only about halfway up. And above that, this is unexplained. I'm about to show you what they say about this right here in just a little bit. So side view, again, here's the ulam. It's very narrow. It's a hall. You go through the door, sanctuary. You go through the veil, the Holy of Holies. And then here, there's this space back here, which this space, I'm assuming, is these compartments on the back side. Okay. So these unknown compartments that go around the temple. I just wanted to highlight this. As far as the Holy of Holies goes, only the high priest was permitted to enter into the Holy of Holies, and only once a year on Yom Kippur, while wearing white garments. Now, I knew for a long time that he could only go in once a year on Yom Kippur. It's also known as the Day of Atonement. Kind of rings a bell, but I can't say I'm for sure. But I think this is new to me that he had to wear white garments. So that's, that's very symbolic. The high priest back in those days was a foreshadowing of Christ. He's the only one that could enter back into the presence of God, right? And then afterwards, once he performed the atonement for all of us, that changed. And so, every ward you're going to have high priests. It's no longer just one person. There are now many high priests, which is interesting. But anyway, all white. Okay, he's wearing all white in order to go into the Holy of Holies. Furthermore, I just thought it'd be interesting to let you know this. I wasn't exactly sure what he would do in there. I knew it was something along these lines. It says, entry to the Holy of Holies was only permitted to the high priest while officiating during the service on Yom Kippur, when he was dressed in white garments. On this day, the high priest would enter the Holy of Holies 4 times. The first time, he burned the incense, pictured on the right. The second, let's look at those pictures. Okay, so, and they're not really, whatever. So, incense, here you see him here on the left. Okay, incense. The second time he sprinkled the blood of the bull once upward and 7 times downward. On the third time, he sprinkled the blood of the goat that was offered to God in the same manner. On the high priest's 4th entry into the Holy of Holies, he removed the incense vessel and coal shovel. Picture on left shows Kohen Gadol, which is the high priest. Kohen is priest. Gadol is awesome or high or, along those lines. Standing with the king of Israel before the Ark of the Covenant and receiving an answer to the king's inquiry via the Urim and Thummim on the Kohen Gadol's breastplate. And it has a picture of that. It's actually, I think it's up here. This picture. So you have the king of Israel over here on the right. You have the high priest on the left. They're standing in front of the Ark of the Covenant. And via the Urim and Thummim, he's receiving answers for the king. Okay. Go back here. Okay, moving on. In the Ulam, there were these 2 tables. One was made of gold. One was made of marble. I'm not going to go into that really. Here is a priest. You see how he's on this very rickety elevator type thing? Kind of scary. That's quite a fall if he falls. I didn't know this, but above the entryway to the sanctuary, there were 2 gold crowns. And part of a new priest training is to go up here and see the crowns. Okay, one there and then one on the other side. This is also not shown in the BYU model because all there basically is a veil. Although I don't know if this is how it was during the Second Temple. I don't know if that was just something that was going on during Solomon's Temple. So I don't know. Oh, here it is right here. You can see the 2 crowns. One right here, one over here on this picture to the left. Okay, moving on. You can see them doing stuff here in the Ulam. There's showbread. There's the gold table. Here's you see the doorway right here. You see that doorway? Again, it doesn't show it here in the BYU model, but I suppose it would be about right here. Okay, there's a doorway that goes to those compartments and also to this other thing I'm about to show you. Okay, when an individual donated gold for use in the MIKDASH, his donation would be fashioned into the shape of a leaf or cluster. Whenever necessary, some quote-unquote leaves of the grapevine were removed and the gold was used to finance renovations. Isn't that interesting? So going back here, that's what this is. These leaves. These gold leaves, I'm sure that they started out with a basic thing of gold leaves, probably, but more gold leaves are added on here as people donate money to the temple, to the sanctuary, and then it stays up here on these pillars. And then if money is needed to help with renovation to the temple, they just take these leaves down and then finance the renovation. That's cool. Within the two windows above the entrance to the Haikal were two ornament golden crowns were placed. There were also golden chains in the ulam. The young priestly trainees would climb these chains to see the crowns. Okay, so I guess that's part of their training. And here it is again. He's going up. There's the gold chains. He's going up so he can see the crowns. So to the very far side of the ulam, you have the knives dispensary right here. Okay. Let's keep going. The knives dispensary was located on both sides of the ulam. According to some opinions, there were chambers here in which the knives used to slaughter the offerings were stored. Each watch had its own special window to store the knives used during its watch. Others say that there were only storage windows on either side of the ulam in which the knives were stored, but not an actual chamber. So the way that I understand that is some think that these little cubbies right here was where the knives were stored. Others think that it was in, I think in these unknown chambers, these chambers right here that they don't know what the purpose was. Okay. So who knows? Maybe that's all it is. I don't know. Okay. Now the Pish Peshim. Okay. So look at this layout right here. So we already talked about these chambers, these unknown chambers that go around. Okay. On top of that, you have these long chambers right here on both sides. You'll notice that one is sealed. You can't get in here. And then the other one you can. So this is annoying. Let me see if I can open this up in a new tab. No. Okay. It sucks. All right. So I pardon the 86 that is escorting me as I try and show you the temple. So you come up here, up these steps. You can go in this door, and it looks like there might be another door over here. And then these connect to the chambers that are unknown, as well as the Pish Peshim. And then you can also get into the sanctuary through here. So you could go through this door, turn left, and then that would go into the sanctuary. Same with this one down here. And then this Pish Peshim is accessible, it looks like, but this one is not. And there is a commentary about that. Okay, so the Pish Peshim. On both sides of the entrance to the Kodesh, there were small openings called Pish Peshim. The southern opening was always closed, and no one ever entered through it. Okay, so that's talking about this one. This is the south side, always closed. No one ever entered through it, as the verse states. This gate will be closed, and no man will enter in by it, because Hashem, which is the Lord God of Israel, has entered through it. Ezekiel 44:2. The northern opening was opened each morning using 2 keys. Through it, one could enter the compartment, and from there to the Kodesh. It was necessary to first enter the Kodesh through the compartment, since the main doors of the Kodesh could only be unlocked from the inside. So what does that mean? So when these doors are locked, okay, and they need to open it, they would go through here into the Pish Peshim, and then into this compartment right here, and then from there into the Kodesh. And then they could unlock the doors from this side. All right. On this diagram, you have these vertical lines right here. It almost makes it look like these are stairs, but I can't find anywhere that tells me what this means. But to me, this looks like a symbol for stairs. Could be wrong. I don't know. But could they possibly lead up to that second floor? Maybe. All right, let's continue on. Here's a side view again. You have this big, seemingly empty space above the Kodesh. I guess it would maybe technically be part of the Kodesh, but it's anyway, it's like a second floor of the Kodesh. All right, let's see. Let's move on. Here's the measurements. So the bottom floor was 40 cubits, and then the top floor was also 40 cubits. So they even have the measurements for it. It's just like a mysterious big room. Now, there are a couple things I'm about to show you about it, but let's continue on. All right. The height of the interior of the Kodesh was 40 cubits, and the height of the attic was 40 cubits. Okay, and that's all it says. It just says, oh, the height of the attic was 40 cubits. Oh, just no big deal. Just this big empty space. So coming back here to his talk. So with that in mind, let's continue to read through this. So let's read this again. Let me see where they start to talk about it. Okay, different than our modern robes, by the way. And then they showed me the design for the temple, and I leaned to Dr. Joseph Ganad and said, it's the wrong design. And he immediately turned to Dr. Rabbi Julius and said, it's the wrong design. And he immediately turned over to Dr. Level and said, it's the wrong design. So when afterwards Dr. Leibel said, did you have the correct design? And I said, well, it's in the Bible. It's Ezekiel. Well, he said, we're following the temple scroll that was discovered in 1967. And I said, you see, that was not written by a prophet. That was written by well-meaning people who were far distant from the prophets. Stay with your prophets. If you'll go back, you'll notice that Ezekiel was taken all through the temple. He measured every door, every window, every courtyard stayed with Ezekiel. And so they said, do you have your book that tells us about it? And so I had 2 copies. So we met the next night, and they asked me if I had the temple book with me. And I didn't know which one that they were talking about. They said, where you have written it up. I said, it's called the 4,000 Years. Yes, I have it. And so we spent way into the evening talking about the details of the temple. And they said, but you've got 2 stories here. I said, that's right. Well, the Bible only refers to one story. I said, I know, but Josephus said there was another story on top of it, just like the first one. And the stairs in the walls led up to the top. So let's go back here one more time. So he's pointing out to them. Let's find one of those diagrams. No, this is the high priest one. Let's go back to this. So he's like, the first they're saying, look, there's only this one floor right here. And then Cleon Skousen is like, well, no, Josephus says that there's another one up here, and it's the same dimensions. It's the same. See, 40 cubits in height, 40 cubits. It's the same. It's just on top. See, so it looks like they've gone with his suggestion or what he said, and probably not just off of his word, but he appears to have pointed them in the right direction. And that's currently what it looks like they plan to do. That's kind of amazing, don't you think? Especially when you think about all these different Christians and stuff that say, oh, Mormonism is a cult. we've been around for a while now. We've been around for 200 years, which I know, in the history of the world, that's a short amount of time. But don't you think that's interesting that we had someone that was from this church talking to them about how the temple should be built? And it appears, I don't have all the details, but it appears that they took his advice into consideration and ultimately went with it. That's amazing. So stairs. I mean, could it be those stairs that were in the Pishpashim? I don't know. But stairs in the walls led up to the top. And they said, what would be in the upper story? And I said, that's where the veil is. Oh, no, they said, that's over the door on the first floor. Oh, I said the door is only about 6 feet wide on the first floor, leading to the Holy of Holies. No, that I don't really understand. I don't know what he's talking about there. Into the Holy of Holies, you don't need a 30-foot veil for that. I do not know what he's talking about for that. And they said, well, then if the veil is up there, what do we do on the second floor? Oh, okay, if the veil. Sorry, this transcription isn't perfect. If the veil is up there, what do we do on the second floor? And I said, that's where the Messiah will show you when he comes. When he comes. They're sweet spirits. We have such a good time together, and so they had a big surprise for us just a year ago. They said, we're going to take you into the secret diggings. And I didn't know about any secret diggings. Those of you who have seen the Wailing Wall on the west part, on the west wall part, that was all that was left after the Romans had torn everything down. And they just piled the debris over into the Cheesemakers Valley there until it was practically a hill. They have been digging it ever since 1967. Along the west wall, how about we take a look at it? Let's look at the west wall. Let's go to satellite. So here, okay, look right here where my cursor is. Here's where the Temple Institute is. And just right over here, just a little bit, just a very short walk to the northeast, you have the Temple Mount. And right here, this thing that looks like a slide, that's actually a ramp. Let me refresh this. This is a ramp that you go up if you're going on one of the tours. If you're a non-Muslim, you go up this ramp and then you do your tour from right here. And then all these little dots right here, these are the people that are at the Western Wall. Okay. Let me see if I can do the 3D. I thought there was a 3D of this. Whatever, it's fine. Let's see if we can do see if there's like a 360 right here. Let's go right here. So here's the Western Wall. And I didn't know about this right here. You see this little entryway? There's a really cool video on this channel called what's it called? It's like Relaxing Walks Jerusalem. You guys, the Relaxing Walker. Let's see. Jerusalem Day. I would encourage you to watch this video. This video is awesome. In fact, let's see. He took this on Jerusalem Day, and he went into this area that I had no idea even existed. You see this right here? This is that archway, and you go in here, and it's like the Western Wall actually like continues over here, and you can see all these Jews that are, doing their thing at the Wailing Wall, praying and doing things. But I would check out this video if I were you. I'll put it in the description below. Anyway, let's go back to what he was saying. So along the west wall, and they'd make it about 5 feet wide. Sorry, they'd make it about 5 feet wide. They went clear down the whole length of the wall, and then they would reinforce concrete up it so that the Arab schools and houses on top wouldn't come down, fall in. And here was 1,500 feet of tunneling that they had done in about 13 or 14 years. And so we went the whole length of it. Here were these beautiful Herodian stones weighing 100,000 pounds. And so they've gone clear down to virgin rock, and it had all been done with wheelbarrows and very quietly. And so I said to Rabbi Julius, "What were you doing this for?" And he said, "We were looking for the tunnel." I said, "The tunnel? What tunnel?" I said, "You've got a tunnel, but what tunnel were you looking for?" He said, "The tunnel that went into the Holy of Holies, into the temple." Now, this is something that I didn't know about, okay? A tunnel that goes to the Holy of Holies? All right, continuing, I said, "I don't remember any tunnel that went into the Holy of Holies." "Yes, it's in the Talmud. It goes from the west wall right into the temple area." I said, "Why would they have a tunnel?" They said it was to escape. I said, "You mean in time of attack?" "No. So that when Leviticus chapter 22 was violated, the priest could get out quickly." I can remember what Leviticus 22 was. It says there that if you become unclean while you're in the temple, you touch a dead fly, touch a spider, several other things, you're unclean. Now you must be sacramentally cleansed before you can continue in the temple. You must leave immediately unless the same thing happened to Aaron's eldest sons happens to you. Remember, they were struck down by fire for being unclean in the temple and trying to serve therein. I was set as an example to them. I said, "Well, all right. I remember that part," but I said, "Did you find the tunnel?" "No." I said, I don't think there was one. I certainly never heard of one. There was one. We're going to keep looking." We came back 6 months later, and I asked once again that if my little group could go through and see the diggings. Yes. So we did, and when we came to a little rabbi, it's not rabbit, when we came out, a little rabbi said to Dr. Ganad, "Come with me." And so they went up and disappeared. When they came back, Dr. Ganad said to me, "Come quick." They found the tunnel, so we hurried along, and sure enough, there it was. They've been digging too far down. It was up a little further. Must be in a ramp from the higher part of the city that led over to its big gate. A little tiny one, but it was all closed with rock and brick. And so I said, "Have you been inside?" "Yes." "What did you find?" "Well, it goes back about 150 feet, and then there's some debris, but you can see where it's going." Now, they said this is very important because that tells us where the temple has got to be rebuilt. Okay. Now look at that. I feel like that right there, I feel like that is very solid evidence. It makes sense now why, because if it's based off of this, it makes sense why they would really, really believe that that's where the temple was built. So, continuing, I said, "Where did it go?" And they said, "To the Dome of the Rock." They were in hopes it would be, a little north somewhere. So they've got to wait patiently. And so the government forced them to fill it all in again. That is to put the face rock in. And they've since plastered it so that no one will be tempted to get in there, because they said, until we build the temple, you don't need the tunnel. And meanwhile, our being there could be the cause of a holy war. So that's where we come back to this tab. on the Temple Institute website, the Temple Mount. They're saying that this would be the layout of the temple. And among probably some other things, the main thing that would point to that is that tunnel that goes from... Did they say it went from the west wall? I think they said that it went from the west wall. From the west wall to the Holy of Holies. Right here. So they know that it's there based on that. Now, I'm no expert on Islam. What you may or may not know is that actually it's this mosque right here, Al-Aqsa Mosque right here. This is the holiest site. But the Dome of the Rock, it's not a mosque, but it's an important part of this entire compound, right? Because the rock that's in there, they have tradition that links that rock to Muhammad, and Muhammad riding a horse, basically a flying horse, to receive instruction from God. And so that rock that's in there is very important to them. But it happens to be that, that's where it would seem that the Holy of Holies was, where that rock is. When you go back to the virtual New Testament, and when we go in here, let's go this way. Come on. Go. You'll notice that what you have in here is a rock. It's a big rock. There's not an Ark of the Covenant here. And I actually have something that talks about that. Let's see. Maybe it was here. Okay, yeah. During the era of the Second Temple, okay, so that's the one that the BYU program is based on. During the era of the Second Temple, when the ark was hidden underground, the high priest would offer the incense of Yom Kippur on the Holy of Holies without the presence of the ark, and rest the shovel holding the burning coals and incense upon the foundation stone. Middle bottom picture. Let's see. Where is that? I guess this right here. Middle bottom picture. And according to BYU, I guess it looks something like this during the Second Temple. But what I didn't know is that the ark was being hidden underground. According to MIKDASH, the foundation stone was formed from the transformation of the 12 stones that Yaakov gathered together to use as a pillow. Okay, this is Jacob, Israel, gathered together to use as a pillow when fleeing from Esau. He lay down to sleep in Bethel. He dreamed a dream of angels ascending and descending a ladder which stretched from the earth to the heavens, and upon waking declared, "How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God." And and this is the gate of heaven. Yaakov continued, "If God will be with me, and he will guard me on this way, behold, I am going, and he will give me bread to eat and a garment to wear. And if I return to peace to my father's house, and Hashem, which is the Lord, will be my God, then this stone, which I have placed as a monument, shall be a house of God, and everything that you give me, I will surely tithe to you." Attesting to Yaakov's vow, God determined that the 12 stones upon which Yaakov laid his head, now fused into a single stone, will become the foundation stone of the Holy Temple. So that's the Jewish tradition about the stone, that it was fused from the 12 other stones. And we all know that Bethel or Bethel, when you read the King James, it's Bethel, that it means house of God. In modern Hebrew, I don't know if it's different in Old Hebrew, but in New Hebrew, house or home is bait. That's how you pronounce it, bait. So for example, this would be Beit El, I think. when you think about Bethlehem, that's house of bread. In modern Hebrew, it's lechem, lechem. That's how you pronounce it. So it's interesting that was the name of this place, and that it indeed did become a place of a temple. Right? So that's the tradition for that. Now, I want to move on because there is one other thing I wanted to read. And if you want, Cleon Skousen's books, the third 1,000 years, the 4,000 years, you can, if you don't have it, you can go here to the Internet Archive and read it. It's on there. Internet Archive, you can sign up for a free account. It has so many books that you can look through. And I was just kind of looking through here, and you may want to take a look at it, but he talks in this one, we're looking at the third 1,000 years. He talks about the importance of Ezekiel and how being a prophet, he received the measurements of the temple. And he goes on to say, I can't remember if it's in this book or the other, but he talks about how that was probably meant to be, that, the Lord knew that there would be no more prophets later on necessarily to reveal the dimensions of the temple, and that it was recorded by Ezekiel. Okay. And so, and when I say no more prophets, I just mean that this would be the way that it would work the best, is if Ezekiel had his vision, he recorded the dimensions, and now we have them. And that's the view of Cleon Skousen. And I'm sure that's right. I don't doubt that at all. Okay, so let's go to his other. Now we're in another video. This is called Fantastic Victory by Cleon Skousen from Favorite Speeches, Volume 3. This was given about 1968. Or it was, I guess, yeah, it says it was given 1968. Okay, so this was right after the 6 Day War. This is a year after Israel obtained Jerusalem, which is something that they always wanted, but now they finally had it. Let me read you a few things here. Now, this is really interesting. He says, I learned that something rather interesting had happened. Here's a quote from the Protestant newspaper, The Christian and Christian Today, for August 1967. And I actually have, I don't have that article up, but it can be found here, but you can't read the whole article unless you subscribe. But they do have an archive. In this one, July 21st, 1967, they have an article about the Third Temple. I didn't see anything in this one that seemed like it was an article about what Cleon Skousen is about to talk about. But if you want to subscribe, I'll put the link for this below, like I always do, and you can check it out. However, I did verify this with another source. This is on Bible.org. Will Jerusalem build a temple in Jerusalem? Article contributed by Walvoord.com, and this is him, John F. Walvoord. Longtime president of Dallas Theological Seminary, was one of the most prominent evangelical scholars of his generation. He's considered perhaps the world's foremost interpreter of biblical prophecy. John is perhaps best known for his best-selling work on Bible prophecy. Okay, and so on. He says here, well, I guess maybe first I should, I'll read what Cleon Skousen says first, and then I'll verify that with what he said. Okay, so in that article, it says 500 railcar loads of stone from Bedford, Indiana, considered to be among the finest building stone in the world, is being freighted pre-cut to exact specifications, and one consignment has already been dispatched to Israel. This report, received from authoritative sources in Sellersburg, Indiana, said cornerstones for the third Jerusalem temple are already in Israel. Materials for this temple have been secretly in preparation for 7 years. The report went on, and it is believed American Jews are mainly responsible for financially undergirding the whole project. Things are really moving fast. Now, this was denied by the Limestone Institute of Indiana. They said there is no such shipment of stone going out. So I called Mr. McDonald, who is the president, and told him that another printing of my book was going out. And if that was not an accurate quote, I wanted him to tell me. I said, I've been informed that you've denied that any such shipment went out. He said, yes. But yes, we did. But he said, the things have changed. Since then, I said, what happened? I said, what happened? He said, it isn't anything I can tell you about, but we're no longer making a comment on this. However, he said, I will say to you that a couple of things have come to our attention that indicate that it might be entirely possible. And I said, well, maybe I can tell you back. I can call you back in a week and you can verify for me what you found out, because I want the information to be as accurate as I can. He said, don't call me in a week. This will take a long time to find out about. He said, I've never run into such a cloak and dagger operation, so it's being very confidentially handled. But that's the report I have for you as of tonight. They at least have run into something that has made them feel that it wasn't just a rumor after all. Now, there's another thing up the front that we ought to talk about. We don't know how far ahead it is, but the Jews are going to completely build all the territory around there, and they're going to make it wealthy and pleasant and desirable. Okay, whatever. So he continues on. So basically, at first they denied it, but then later he's like, well, okay. And I thought there was like more to this story. Maybe there was, but I don't know. Whatever. So going back to this article on Bible.org, it says, rumors are rife that plans are already well in advance for rebuilding such a temple. An article appearing in the Christian and Christian Today reports news, quote, received from authoritative sources in Sellersburg, Indiana, to the effect that 500 railroad carloads of stone from Bedford, Indiana, are already en route to Israel, and that a portion of it has arrived in Israel. Included in the report is the information that the 2 bronze pillars for the new temple have already been cast. Although the Israeli government flatly denies the entire story and the authority for it is vague, the rumor highlights current interest in the question concerning the rebuilding of the temple. The Limestone Institute of America has been unable to find any confirmation of such an order, and Israel's ambassador states that if a temple is built, native stone would be used. But anyway, that's what Cleon Skousen says about it. He talked to the people because he wanted to make sure that what he was putting in his book was accurate, and if he needed to make an update, then then he could make the update. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I had for this one. So I think it's really fascinating. So what did we learn? We learned that there was a tunnel that leads to the Dome of the Rock, and so therefore this would seem to be the location where the third temple should be built. And according to the Temple Institute, this would be how everything would be oriented. We learned about the secret compartments that I never knew about. There's a whole second floor that's only vaguely referred to as the attic on the Temple Institute website. And Cleon Skousen consulted with, from what it sounds like, he consulted with the Temple Institute. And it seems like they adopted his view that there should be a second floor, the same dimensions. We learned that there's all sorts of these secret compartments that go around the Kodesh, or the MIKDASH. Um, Compartments of which they don't know what they're for. Just that they're there. We learned that there's, in addition to that, there's these other kind of compartment things over here. And this one, it looks like it has stairs, presumably to get up to the second floor, but I don't know. Haven't been able to confirm that. And then a few other things, the grapevines over here in the front and some other things. But there you have it. So I think I'm more in the camp that it really was on the Temple Mount, okay, rather than the city of David. I don't really doubt that the Jews will build this temple. I think there's been a lot of things that have happened to make it possible, including the last video that I did. It seems like the Lord is already making preparations himself to make this a reality. And as I was researching some other things from Cleon Skousen, okay, he knows a lot. He's a smart person. He's passed away now. But he was talking about his own witness to 1967 and the 6-Day War, and how before that war happened, it seemed impossible to him and everybody else that Israel would ever have Jerusalem again, or that Jerusalem would come under its control. And yet it happened, and it happened in a miraculous way. Cleon Skousen has chronicled a lot of things from the 6-Day War. You might want to check that out, but miracles have occurred. Just Israel becoming a nation and then surviving the initial attack as soon as it became a nation, and then more afterwards, is a miracle. But on top of that, getting Jerusalem, on top of that, the foundations of the Temple Mount being reinforced as like the first phase of building the third temple. And just every day, if you go to Israel 365, they're always staying on top of all the latest developments on the Temple Mount and all the progress that's being made. More and more Jews are ascending the Temple Mount at record-breaking numbers. These things are getting to a fever pitch. We're in a very exciting time to be alive. So we've got to watch these things, and we got to realize that things could be happening without us even knowing it. No one really realized the significance of the foundation being reinforced until that architect from New Zealand just happened to walk through there, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I would do if I was about to take on the third temple project. It's being done right now, and we're not even the ones doing it. What other things, you guys, are happening without our awareness? On this channel, I feel like we've come across lots and lots already, but how many more things are happening that we don't know? So, anyway, I hope you're as fascinated as I am. Oh, there was one other thing, actually. There was one other thing I wanted to go over. I don't know if it was in this article. It was talking about the Sea of Solomon. Oh, man. Maybe I'll have to save that for another time. Maybe it was here. Just bear with me for just 1 minute. Oh, yeah. Okay. So here you have, we all know that Solomon's temple, not the second temple, but Solomon's temple had the brazen sea, or Solomon's sea, which we now use as a baptismal font for baptisms for the dead. And it's not above ground, it's always underground. So if you come out here, let's go through the veil and then this veil. And we're looking at the second temple. Here, all they had was this. Okay. But in the time of King Solomon and Solomon's temple, it was this. And they say something here about it. It says, the MIKDASH, exterior of the first temple. During the first temple period, King Solomon made a number of unique innovations to the court. Solomon's sea constructed of copper, was a large round vessel that stood on 12 oxen made of copper. The three oxen faced north, 3 faced south, 3 faced west, and 3 faced east. Some opinions maintain that the sea served as a ritual bath for the priests, and others state that it served as a reservoir that provided water for use in the court. According to the opinion that the sea served as a ritual bath, it was located outside the court. So here in this painting, it's being depicted as simply a reservoir for water, because you see the water coming out of his mouth. But I guess that's not the only opinion. The other opinion is that it served as a ritual bath. And what do we call a ritual bath? We call it a baptism. Now, it's probably more complicated than that, and I'm not going to go into all the minutia, but it's just something to think about. So there was that too. Also, I had highlighted this. Additionally, King Solomon fashioned 10 ornamental copper wagons called mekanot. Each wagon carried a laver filled with water. 5 mekanot were arranged in a line to the right of the ulam, and 5 to the left. On both sides of the entrance to the ulam stood 2 high decorated pillars. The pillar to the right of the entrance was called Yakin, and the one to the left was called Boaz. And that right there is like a big concept in, that secret club of brotherhood people. I don't want to say certain names, but you see these 2 pillars right here. So again, the one to the right is Yakin. So Yakin right here and Boaz right there, Solomon's temple. Whereas when you look at the second temple, it doesn't really have two prominent columns or pillars. There's basically like 4. There's like these 4 out here, and then when you walk into the ulam, you also have 4, according to the BYU model. So that's interesting. But yeah, the Brotherhood men, they that's a part of their thing, these 2 pillars of Solomon's temple. And I think that is it. Also, it was saying that in Solomon's temple, inside this is what it looked like. That instead of having 1 table of showbread, you had 12, or I think it was 12. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then there was another one that is unlighted, what I read. I'm not going to read it, but I'll put this article below. Oh boy. Okay, so there's that. So, interesting things. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it. Put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.